The dark truth about human existence, the reality we all quietly carry. What if no one has ever truly known you? Not your parents, not your partner, not your best friend. This idea might feel lonely, even painful, but it holds a deeper truth. In this video, we explore the psychological reality that our inner world remains fundamentally private. And why that's not a flaw but a source of strength. Through the lenses of Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, and Carl Jung, we reveal how solitude, misunderstood connection, and the struggle to be known shape our most human experiences. This is not a feel-good narrative. It's an invitation to meet yourself with radical honesty, and maybe, for the first time, find peace in being unseen. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover may transform how you relate to others, and to yourself. No one has ever fully understood you, and that is normal. You may believe that someone out there truly knows you. Maybe it is a partner, a lifelong friend, or even a parent who has been by your side since childhood. But what they understand is not you in your entirety. What they perceive is a version of you shaped by their own memories, projections, and emotional filters. Even the most attentive listener, even the one who claims to know you best, is still responding to their own image of you. It is not dishonesty or lack of love. It is a limitation of human consciousness. We do not relate to the truth of others. We relate to interpretations. Had is the silent gap that exists in every relationship, no matter how close. You may have felt the weight of this truth in moments when you tried to explain something deeply personal, and were met with silence or misunderstanding. You used clear words, precise analogies, but still felt unseen. This does not mean you are unworthy of connection. It means you are human. And being human means existing behind a veil of subjectivity no one else can lift. This reality is not meant to isolate you, but to invite you into a deeper form of empathy. When you accept that no one can fully know your world, you begin to see others with gentler eyes. You understand that their words and actions are also shaped by unseen wounds and private meanings. This understanding creates space, not just for compassion, but for freedom. You no longer seek total validation. You begin to speak, feel, and live with the quiet strength of someone who does not need to be completely understood to be real. The island of consciousness, the absolute privacy of existence. You live inside a world no one else can enter. Your thoughts unfold in silence. Your memories replay in your mind alone. The way you see color, feel pain, experience joy, and process fear happens entirely within the confines of your own awareness. This is the solitude of consciousness. Not a social condition, but an existential one. Every human being is born into a body, into a mind, and spends their life navigating reality from behind the glass of their own perception. You can describe your inner world to others. You can write about it, paint it, speak it aloud. But no matter how articulate your expression, no one else will ever experience it exactly as you do. The words you use are shared, but the meanings they carry are not. When you say you are anxious or in love or lost, the listener does not feel what you feel. They translate your words through the filter of their own experience, making connection an approximation at best. This is not meant to discourage communication. It is a reminder that even our closest interactions are bridges built between distant islands. We are all trying to cross vast oceans of subjectivity with fragile boats of language and gesture. When you understand this, you stop expecting perfect resonance and begin to appreciate the courage it takes for anyone to try. The privacy of your consciousness is not a flaw. It is the sacred space where your unique experience of life unfolds. And within that space, despite its isolation, you can still find beauty, depth, and the beginnings of true understanding. Schopenhauer and the tragedy of the one who longs to be understood. Arthur Schopenhauer saw the human condition through a lens of unflinching clarity. To him, The greatest illusion we cling to is the hope of being fully known by another. We believe that love, friendship, or shared experience can bridge the gap between two consciousnesses. But in truth, each person remains trapped within the walls of their own mind. This is the tragedy of the one who longs to be understood. The more deeply you wish to be seen, the more painful it becomes to realize that no gaze can reach the core of who you are. Schopenhauer believed that all suffering is magnified by this isolation. You hurt not only because of pain itself, but because no one else can truly feel that pain with you. You can explain it. You can cry, scream, or write about it. But still, the essence remains untouched by others. The privacy of pain becomes a kind of prison. And yet, Schopenhauer did not stop at despair. He believed that recognizing this solitude was the first step toward an honest life. When you stop demanding total understanding from others, you free them from an impossible task. And you free yourself from constant disappointment. You begin to live not for validation, but for truth. You stop performing and start existing. This shift is subtle but powerful. It does not mean cutting off connection. It means relating to others without illusion. Schopenhauer's insight is not meant to isolate you further, but to lead you toward a more sincere relationship with the world, one where acceptance replaces expectation and solitude becomes strength. Nietzsche: the one who dares to walk alone is the one who is strong. Friedrich Nietzsche understood that most people cannot bear the silence of their own minds. The solitude of consciousness terrifies them. So they seek comfort in the crowd. They adopt beliefs, values, and habits that have been handed down to them, not because these reflect their deepest truths, but because they offer the illusion of belonging. Nietzsche saw this as a dangerous compromise. When you surrender your inner voice to match the noise of others, you lose the chance to become who you truly are. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche describes the masses as a herd. Everyone wants the same. Everyone becomes the same. And anyone who dares to feel or think differently is cast aside as mad. But it is not madness. It is the first step toward becoming an individual. The crowd provides comfort. But that comfort comes at the price of authenticity. Most people would rather conform than risk being alone with their thoughts. They fear the abyss of solitude more than the death of their own spirit. Nietzsche did not idealize isolation for its own sake. He valued the transformation that occurs when you stop needing others to approve your existence. In solitude, you begin to hear your own voice clearly. You begin to think without the need for consensus. This is where strength is born. Not the strength to dominate others, but the strength to stand alone in your truth. It is not easy. You may be misunderstood, rejected, or ignored. But what you gain is a sense of self that is no longer fragile. Nietzsche calls this the free spirit. And only those who face the silence without flinching can ever truly become one. Carl Jung: the true darkness lies within our own mind. Carl Jung believed that solitude is not frightening because we are physically alone but because it forces us to confront what we carry inside. When distractions fade, the mind turns inward. And there, beneath the surface, waits the shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves we ignore, deny, or reject. It holds our fears, guilt, anger, and all the traits we consider unacceptable. Most people spend their lives running from this shadow, disguising it with busyness or covering it with masks of personality. Jung saw modern life as perfectly designed to avoid this confrontation. We fill our days with noise and movement. We are always looking outward, never pausing long enough to look within. Even when surrounded by others, we feel lonely. Not because no one is there, but because we cannot speak of what matters most. We are afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or abandoned. So we silence ourselves, and in doing so, deepen the distance between who we are and who we show to the world. But Jung believed that true healing begins when we stop avoiding the shadow. Solitude, used with intention, becomes a mirror. In its stillness, we begin to recognize the parts of ourselves we once feared. We begin to understand that these parts do not make us weak. They make us whole. Only by integrating the shadow can we become a complete person. And only those who have made peace with their own darkness can offer true light to others. In the end, the fear of solitude is not fear of being alone. It is fear of meeting yourself without escape. Superficial closeness, why connection is often only on the surface. Most human relationships exist within a narrow range of understanding. We share time, activities, and even emotions. But the depth of connection is often far less than we imagine. Language gives us the illusion of closeness. We say the same words. But rarely do we mean the same things. When someone says I am sad or I am fine, the true weight of those words is hidden behind their eyes. We respond not to their reality, but to our interpretation of it. This gap creates the illusion of intimacy without the substance. Even in our closest bonds, we rely on signals and habits. A tilted head means skepticism. A certain tone suggests annoyance. We learn patterns, not people. This helps us function socially. But it also limits how deeply we engage with another soul. We rarely ask what lies beneath the gesture, beneath the silence, beneath the carefully chosen words. And when we do, we often stop at the first answer that makes sense, even if it hides the truth. The problem is not that people are shallow, but that our ways of relating are limited. We build relationships around roles and needs, not around full understanding. A colleague sees your professional face. A friend sees your humor. A partner may see your affection, but not your fear. Each connection captures a part of you, not the whole. This is why you can feel lonely in a crowd or unseen in a relationship. True connection demands more than shared experience. It requires presence, patience, and the willingness to sit with what is not easily said. True freedom begins when you are no longer afraid of being alone. The fear of being alone controls more lives than we realize. It hides beneath the need to stay busy, the urge to always be connected, the desperation to belong. Many people do not seek relationships for love or growth, but to escape the silence of solitude. They mistake the presence of others for the absence of emptiness. But loneliness is not cured by company. It is only transformed when we stop fearing it. To fear being alone is to fear the truth of our existence. You were born alone. You will die alone. And in between, no matter how many people surround you, your inner world remains yours alone. This is not a sentence of isolation. It is a call to strength. When you stop running from solitude, you begin to hear your true voice. You are no longer defined by external approval. You stop shaping yourself to fit the expectations of others. In that space, something powerful happens. You meet the self that does not beg to be seen but stands quietly in its own truth. This kind of freedom does not come quickly. It requires you to sit with discomfort, to face thoughts you would rather avoid, to build a home inside yourself. But once you do, the neediness fades. You no longer use people as distractions or mirrors. You connect from a place of wholeness, not lack. And those connections, though fewer, become deeper. The person who is not afraid to be alone is the one most capable of love. Because they do not love from hunger. They love from fullness. Inner strength comes from the dialogue with yourself. The loudest voices are not always the most truthful. In a world full of noise, many people mistake volume for wisdom. We are constantly surrounded by opinions, judgments, and expectations. But the real clarity does not come from others. It comes from the quiet space where you meet yourself. Inner strength is not built through external praise. It is forged in the silence. Where your deepest questions echo and wait for your honest answers. When you begin to engage in real dialogue with yourself, you stop hiding behind distraction. You listen not just to your hopes but also to your fears. You allow the uncomfortable thoughts to rise without immediately pushing them away. This is not weakness. This is courage. Because to look within is to risk seeing what you do not want to face. But it is also the only way to grow beyond what you currently are. Solitude gives you the room to ask questions no one else can answer for you. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I believe when no one is speaking into my ear? These questions shape your character. They guide your choices. They reveal your core. The more honest you are in this conversation, the more unshakable you become in the face of life's uncertainties. Inner strength does not shout. It does not demand. It stands quietly, rooted in self-knowledge. And once it is there, no external chaos can truly disturb your peace. When you stop seeking approval, you begin to live authentically. The need for approval is deeply human. From childhood, we are shaped by praise and correction. We learn to smile when others approve and to shrink when they do not. Over time, this becomes a habit so ingrained that we forget we are living through the eyes of others. Every choice becomes a performance. Every word is edited for safety. We confuse acceptance with truth and laws with value. But living for approval is not truly living. It is surviving through adaptation. When you stop chasing validation, something profound happens. You begin to ask yourself what you actually think, want, and believe. You rediscover parts of yourself that have long been hidden behind masks. At first, this honesty can feel like loss. Without others' opinions to guide you, you may feel uncertain. But this uncertainty is freedom. It means you are no longer confined by the rules of belonging. You start to make choices based on alignment, not on fear. Authentic living is not easy. It often means going against the crowd, being misunderstood, or standing alone. But it also means waking up each day knowing you are living in integrity with your inner truth. This alignment gives you peace no applause can offer. When you no longer need to be in a certain way, you free yourself from the burden of pretending. And in that freedom, your presence becomes real. Not polished. Not perfect. But deeply alive. Why we always misunderstand others and unintentionally hurt each other. Misunderstanding is not an exception in human interaction. It is the rule. Every person you meet carries a world within them you cannot fully see. Their fears, memories, beliefs, and hopes shape how they speak and act. When you listen, you are not hearing their truth directly. You are interpreting it through your own experiences. And they are doing the same with you. This double filter is why even the most well-intentioned conversations can go wrong. We think we are being clear. We think we are being kind. But the message received is not always the message sent. Most of the pain we cause one another is not out of cruelty. It is out of confusion. We assume, project, and expect without realizing it. We judge a sharp tone as anger, when it may be fear. We take silence as distance, when it may be sorrow. Our minds fill in the blanks, often incorrectly. And in doing so, we hurt others and feel hurt in return. Learning to see this pattern is an act of compassion. It allows us to pause before reacting, to ask instead of assume. To listen more slowly. The goal is not perfect understanding. That may never be possible. The goal is presence. To sit with someone's words without rushing to interpret. To hold space for the unknown. In them and in yourself. In this space, the cycle of misunderstanding begins to break. And in its place, something softer can grow. Not clarity, perhaps, but connection. The meaning of life does not lie in the crowd but in the solitary journey itself. Many search for meaning by following the paths already walked by others. They adopt beliefs, traditions, and goals handed down through families, cultures, and social norms. These shared narratives give comfort. They offer a sense of direction. But for some, they begin to feel hollow. The crowd can show you how to live, but not why. That answer must be discovered alone. Real meaning is not found in imitation. It arises when you begin to question what you have always accepted. It grows in the silence where you ask yourself whether the life you are living is truly your own. This kind of reflection is not easy. It strips away certainty. It exposes the difference between fitting in and being fulfilled. The solitary journey is not about abandoning people. It is about leaving behind the need for their approval to define your worth. The person who dares to walk alone does not reject connection. They seek truth before comfort. They are not arrogant. They are awake. They understand that meaning is not something given. It is created through honest living. Through showing up fully, especially when no one is watching. The crowd may offer safety. But meaning requires risk. The risk of being different. The risk of being misunderstood. But in that risk lies something extraordinary. Not a universal answer. But a deeply personal truth. One that no one can give you, and no one can take away. Understanding psychology correctly is not weakness, it is courage. There is a common misunderstanding that seeking psychological insight means something is wrong with you. Many people still view emotional struggle as a flaw, something to hide or fix quickly. But this belief is rooted in fear, not truth. Understanding your mind does not make you weak. It makes you honest. It means you are willing to look beyond appearances and face what lies beneath. That willingness is not a defect. It is strength. Psychology is not only for those in crisis. It is for anyone who wants to understand why they think, feel, and act the way they do. It offers a mirror, not a diagnosis. It helps you make sense of your patterns, your pain, and your potential. Ignoring your inner world does not protect you. It disconnects you. It keeps you reacting instead of responding. When you explore your mind with openness, you gain clarity. You begin to choose, rather than repeat. Courage is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to meet that struggle with awareness. To say I want to understand myself is one of the bravest things a person can do. It opens the door to healing, growth, and deeper connection with others. When we stop seeing psychology as a sign of damage and begin to see it as a path to wisdom, we free ourselves from shame. And in that freedom, we become more human, not less. You came into this world alone and you will leave it alone. But in between lies the journey of exploring your inner world, facing loneliness, understanding yourself, and opening your heart to others in an authentic way. Understanding the nature of isolation does not make you weak. It allows you to live more deeply and consciously. Because only when you are no longer afraid of being misunderstood can you truly be free. And within that privacy, you discover the most precious thing of all, your true self.